Welcome to the week that was, TIOL's weekly news roundup. The week started with the unveiling of the government's third budget proposals, with reactions pouring in throughout the week. We bring you news of the impact of the new levies, new laws, and new appointments.
There are also snippets on key court decisions and notifications, besides international stories too. But first, let's look into the clamour for the rollback of the proposed tax on the Employees' Provident Fund.
The intention to encourage the private sector to invest in pension schemes may be virtuous, but the means cannot justify the end. The Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, has been forced to reconsider the proposed tax on withdrawals from the Employees' Provident Fund amidst a united opposition clamouring for the rollback of this provision. With an intention to provide for a uniform tax treatment of pension schemes, Budget 2016 proposed to impose tax on all EPF withdrawals of 60% of the contributions made after April 2016 if they are not invested in annuity schemes. With more than 6 crore people expected to be impacted by this tax, the social media went into a spin. The tax amounts to double taxation on workers' savings, or it is an insidious attempt to create a market for pension products of insurance companies, or even that the government needs to correct a bad instrument like the National Pension Scheme rather than penalize people for bad performance of the EPFO. What would be the impact, the repercussions of this proposal? Let's find out from our expert, Professor Leena Kaushal, economist with the Management Development Institute in Gurgaon.
The government says that they have the vision of promoting a prosperous retired society, but they should not forget that it is basically the lower income group that is more dependent on this particular chunk of funds post-retirement, Now, if you are taxing this, then it is this section that suffers the most. Irony is that the ELSS schemes of mutual funds and insurance plans, they still enjoy the status of triple E. I would recommend that government should look at more prospects what other developed countries, including US, has been following in terms of pension, how to treat their pension funds.
Professor Kaushal, isn't it true that even internationally, Social Security is funded through payroll taxes, which are imposed on employers and employees as a percentage of their salary?
In the US, they don't tax their investment earnings. That's what we are doing here. And the amount that the employee is contributing towards the pension fund, that is also not taxed because that is already being taxed in their income. What is being partially taxed is the contributors of the employer. So we should look at more aspects how we can do away with this particular problem and cater more to the society that needs our support.
Thank you, Professor Kaushal. Well, the Finance Minister is considering representations that when the entire 60% of the corpus is not invested in annuity products, tax may be levied on the interest or the accumulated returns on the corpus and not on the entire contributed amount. The principal must remain tax-free. Representations are also made for not having any monetary limit on the employer contribution under EPF because such a limit is not there in NPS. A new excise levy on jewellery may make precious jewellery more expensive even as the jewellery sector initiates strikes and dharnas across India.
Budget 2016 has proposed to impose 1% excise duty on jewellery without input credit or 12.5% with Senvat credit, while also providing a higher threshold limit up to Rs 6 crores during a financial year and eligibility limit of Rs 12 crore. This means jewellers with turnover below Rs 6 crore are exempt from the new levy if aggregate domestic clearances during the preceding financial year were less than Rs 12 crore. This proposal covers jewellery made of precious metals and stones while excluding plain silver jewellery. Jewellers are upset as this would make jewellery more expensive, even as their long-standing protest against the government's decision to make PAN cards mandatory for transactions of Rs 2 lakh and more remains unresolved. The India Bullion and Jewellery Association is demanding from the government to roll back the excise duty, even as it has declared strikes and dharnas throughout the country. The former CAG has been appointed the chairman of the newly constituted Banks Board Bureau. Should someone retired as a CAG take up an official position?
Announcements made by the Modi government in the previous budget were implemented right on the eve of Budget 2016. The government announced the appointment of the first chairman of the newly constituted Banks Board Bureau. The former Comptroller and Auditor General, Mr. Vinod Rai, will now head the board, an autonomous body set up last year to recommend the appointment of directors in public sector banks and advise on ways of raising funds, besides dealing with the stressed assets. Mr. Vinod Rai, the chairman of the Banks Board Bureau, retired as CAG 32 months ago after a stint during which he exposed some major financial irregularities in government during the UPA regime. Besides the appointment of this activist spirit on an honorary basis, the government also appointed 3 expert members and 3 ex officio members to the Banks Board Bureau. None of these positions are full-time. This board, setting up of which was announced in the previous budget, shall be operational from April 1, 2016. It is meant to replace the existing appointments board for public sector banks. Did the Bar Council have the authority to conduct the bar examination? Let's find out.
A law graduate needs to clear an examination conducted by the Bar Council of India to practice in court. However, the Supreme Court has questioned the authority of the Bar Council of India to conduct the All India Bar Examination without amendment of the Advocates Act. An apex court bench of Chief Justice T.S. Thakur and Justice U. Lalit pointed out that a committee appointed by the Supreme Court had earlier recommended amendments to the Advocates Act before the examination could be conducted. However, the Bar Council of India started to conduct the exam merely on the basis of passing a resolution. The court thus questioned the statutory backing of the Bar Council to conduct the exam, observing that to make clearing of an examination mandatory for a law graduate to be able to practice was like negating a lawyer's right to appear in court. The Bar Council will answer these fundamental questions raised by the apex court. It would also need to be considered what happens to the advocates who are practicing on the basis of clearing an exam which was conducted without authority.
Liquor in Haryana may cost more now.
There may be lesser incentive to go across the state border into Haryana to buy cheaper liquor. The Haryana State Cabinet has declared its new excise policy for 2016 and 17. The license fee for wholesale vend has been hiked from Rs 5 lakh to Rs 10 lakh and from Rs 40 to Rs 50 lakh for the higher category. The policy also introduces online passes and permits for the transportation of liquor. Additional excise duty has also been rationalized and hiked from Rs 12 per proof litre to Rs 18 per proof litre. For IMFL, the duty has been enhanced from Rs 30 to Rs 45 per proof litre. Even the value-added tax on liquor has been raised from 8 to 10%. No doubt, liquor in Haryana will cost more. Now there is an incentive for bureaucrats for doing better work.
Bureaucrats who successfully administer the priority welfare programs of the government may receive an award for their work from the Prime Minister himself. The government has introduced a new category of awards given to bureaucrats each year on Civil Services Day on April 21st. The prime criteria for the new award for excellence in public administration is efficiency and corruption-free implementation of the priority programs such as the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana or the Soil Health Card Scheme. Switzerland is not all about secret bank accounts and chocolate. It is also about pills for sleeping and slimming.
While India requests Switzerland for information on secret bank accounts, Swiss authorities have disclosed that more than half the illegally imported medicines confiscated by Swiss customs are being sourced in India. Swiss authorities disclosed that there were 1,134 cases of illegally imported medicinal products in 2015. While India accounted for 42% of the confiscated medicinal products shipments in 2015, two-thirds of all seized shipments had originated in Asian countries, including India. Interestingly, the Swiss government agency stated that potency products or erectile stimulants accounted for 51% of these confiscated medicinal products. Other popular medications were tranquilizers and slimming preparations. It seems Indian medicines for sleeping, slimming and sex are most popular in Switzerland.
Do you and I have a say in the budget proposals? We could.
Budget 2016 was not an exercise by the government alone. It involved a healthy participation by the citizens of India. Some of these suggestions made on the Prime Minister's Pet My Government platform were actually taken up as budget proposals. More than 6,600 people responded with their ideas, which were shortlisted for consideration by the Finance Ministry, and about 10 suggestions actually made it as a budget proposal. So next time you want to air your ideas, do it where it counts. A legal luminary has retired from active service.
President Justice G. Raghuram retired this week after 3 years of distinguished service in the tribunal. An expert in constitutional law, he was a High Court judge for 14 years and even headed the tax bench of the Andhra Pradesh High Court before taking over the CSTAT at a critical time. He succeeded in establishing 3 new benches at Hyderabad, Allahabad and Chandigarh. He also found himself in a unique position of delivering a minority judgment in a 5-member bench presided by him with 3 technical members ruling against his judgment. In an identical case, the Supreme Court held the same view as that of Justice Raghuram, who was happy that his members had the courage to exercise their independence and not to blindly agree with him. In fact, he drew the government's focus to dispute resolution. For the CSTAT tribunal, he observed, "I'm dealing with 100,000 cases today and a modest estimate is about rupees 2.47 lakh crore. That is the money that is in the pipeline of adjudication in the tribunal, and statistical data shows that the success of departmental adjudication is in the order of 15% only. There is too much of public money, salaries and establishment chasing too little of real accretion to the Consolidated Fund of India." He was a master jurist with unparalleled knowledge in tax laws, especially service tax. He was stunningly articulate and a captivating orator who was known to be strict but fair. A new CSTAT president is yet to be named. With that, we conclude this bulletin of the week that was. Thank you for watching.
You may write us on editor@tiol.in. Have a wonderful weekend ahead.